Hello, my name is Dr. Carlo Carandang, and I'm a psychiatrist. Today, I'm going to talk about the negative cycle of specific phobia. Specific phobia is an intense fear of a specific object or situation. So you might have an intense fear of an object such as an animal, an insect such as a fear of spiders, a fear of dogs. You might have a fear of water. You might have a fear of a situation such as a fear of heights or fear of crossing a bridge. So these are examples of specific phobias where you have an intense fear of an object or situation. So here's an example of a negative cycle of specific phobia. It starts off with a trigger where you see, hear, or think about the feared object or situation. So you might have a fear of spiders, for instance. So when you see the spider, this then induces thoughts about the spider. And then your thoughts could be things such as, quote, something bad is going to happen, or, quote, I will not be able to cope, or, quote, I'm going to be harmed because this spider is going to sting me and harm me. The thoughts then induces feelings of anxiety, and then you have fearful feelings. And this in turn, you have the physical effects of anxiety in which you have the adrenaline response, otherwise known as the fight or flight response, where you become short of breath, you start breathing faster, your heart starts beating faster, you have sweating, your pupils dilate, and you become more alert. So the anxiety, fearfulness, and the physical symptoms of anxiety can make you very uncomfortable. The anxiety then makes you avoid, so you start avoiding the feared object or situation, or you flee or escape. However, the avoidance maintains the belief in the danger and the direness of events, and then this then forms this never-ending loop where you have this vicious negative cycle of specific phobia. So let's say you have a specific phobia. The triggers could be that you see the feared object or situation, or you hear the feared object or situation, or you think about the feared object or situation. The event then induces thoughts about the event, and you may have thoughts such as, quote, something bad is going to happen, or, quote, I will not be able to cope, or, quote, I'm going to be harmed. The thoughts then induce anxiety, and then you have feelings of anxiety, fearfulness, and the physical effects of anxiety, as discussed earlier. The anxiety makes you avoid, and you might avoid the feared object or situation, or you might flee or escape. So although the avoidant behaviors decrease your anxiety over the short term, the behaviors actually maintain your overall anxiety from the feared stimulus. Hence, the avoidance maintains the belief in the danger and direness of events. So this in turn, what happens here is that the vicious negative cycle continues, and the feared stimulus induces thoughts, which induces anxiety, which then compels you to avoid. So instead of just exposing yourself to the trigger and finding out nothing bad will occur, you avoid the trigger entirely, and this maintains your belief in the danger. So with the avoidant behaviors, you never get to find out that the anxiety will go away naturally on its own if you just stay with your feared situation. So how do you deal with a fear of spiders, or a fear of heights, or a fear of crossing bridges? Well, one way to deal with this is to go through exposure therapy, and this is an example of a fear hierarchy. So what happens in exposure work is that you are gradually exposed to more and more fearful more and more fearful situations. But you start off at situations which are less fearful than your actual feared situation. So, say that you have a fear of crossing a bridge. So, instead of actually starting with crossing the actual bridge, you would start off with just visualizing the bridge. And this may initially give you anxiety symptoms. So, when you visualize the bridge, then you stay with the visualization and then use coping skills to decrease your anxiety and relaxation to decrease your anxiety. And once you're able to visualize the bridge and cope with that, then you go on to the next higher level of fear. And in this case, it would be crossing a short bridge with a cell phone, so that it's a short bridge and then you have the cell phone just in case something happens. So you go through each level of fearful situations. You advance as you're able to cope with the one that you're working with. So you start off with the least fearful situation. So in this case, it would be visualizing a bridge. And then you work your way to more increasingly more fearful situation until you could get to the top of the fear hierarchy, in which you can cross a long bridge in heavy traffic without a cell phone. So for more information and help on specific phobia and other anxiety problems, please visit AnxietyBoss.com. Thank you for listening. I'm Dr. Carlo Carandang.